Good morning. It is morning huddle time. I'm Chad Prinky here alongside Stacy Holzinger, as always.
The nature of the beast is the competitive nature of the industry.
Is if you can see it, you can be it.
It's all about the people. The people are what make it great and worthwhile.
Yeah, anything that I think helps build the story behind the company is great.
These are the things that that you're like, we don't need that because we have plenty of work right now. Got it. But if you don't do it now, where are you going to have work in the future? The Morning Huddle Construction Show is fortunate to have 5 sponsors for Season 7, helping us to spread the word and create positive change in the construction industry. And we want to give a shout out to each of them and thank them now. First is Katz Abosch. This is a middle market accounting firm with a deep specialization in construction, tax, audit, accounting, fantastic group of people. Next is Lawrence Law. This is a boutique law firm that works with contractors and helps them with their day-to-day legal needs as well as all of their most significant legal challenges that they might run up against. Lawrence Law. Then we have Sandy Spring Bank, which is a regional bank in Maryland with a group of people who really understand what the needs of construction businesses are and who partner with you to achieve your financial aims. So Sandy Spring Bank. And then we have Marsh McLennan Agency, bonding and insurance professionals who really just have unparalleled insight into the construction industry. They're the best in the business. And then lastly, we have Genesis AEC. And Genesis is a full service architecture, engineering, and construction management firm with a deep specialization in the life sciences industry. We also happen to have some of their folks help us with guest hosting from time to time. Thank you to all of our sponsors. Let's get back to the show. Good morning. It is morning huddle time. Chad Prinky flying solo this morning. Stacy unavailable. Sad. I'll miss her, but I am going to have some fantastic guests today. So without further ado, I'll bring them on. I've got Sally Morse and Emily Soloby. Sally and Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
Thanks so much for taking the time to join the morning huddle.
Absolutely. This is fun.
Yeah, glad to have you. So in this episode, the episode is we've kind of built on this topic. I want to say like 60 episodes ago. So it's been a long time. I'm also looking forward to getting a kind of update on progress over the past year and a half, or almost 2 years since we had this topic back on, and it's or a version of this topic, right? So the idea is we're going to dive into the challenges and opportunities of attracting and retaining women in the construction industry. The construction industry has continues to have a shortage of people to join. In various positions, really every position you can possibly think of in the building industry, there's demand, whether it's estimating and project management to superintendents and foremen, and obviously all of the skilled labor and skilled and unskilled labor that we count on out in the field every day. And so we're joined today by Emily Soloby, and who is the founder of Juno Jones Safety Boots, and Sally Morse, who's the product creator of Spectra Supply, as founding members of the Alliance of Women's Safety Apparel Manufacturers. They're at the forefront of a vital movement dedicated to transforming the construction industry. They're committed to rethinking industry policies and practices to better align with women's priorities, ensuring that the workplace is inclusive and empowering. So we're going to dig into that conversation today. Emily, I'll start with you. Maybe tell us a little bit about Juno Jones shoes. Or Juno Jones safety boots, sorry. And, I know we've had you on before, and I know Stacy, unfortunately, is not on today, but she's a big fan and haver of Juno Jones safety boots. Tell us a little bit about the business.
Yes, I love seeing Stacy rocking our red cherry bombs.
She loves them. Oh, Emily is frozen. That happens. I'm going to switch over to Sally here for a moment then. Since we have two folks.
I also rock the cherry bombs, just to say.
Do you really?
I do. Whenever I go on site or I'm at conferences, I'll wear the steel toe boots, because honestly, when you're on the conference floor, sometimes with the cement, the safety boots are sometimes the most comfortable option, I find, even over some runners. So
nice. Well, yeah. Right on. So Sally, tell us a little bit about Spectra Supply.
Sure. So I'm from Calgary, Alberta, which is just above Montana State. So I'm up here in Canada. But just as all entrepreneurs kind of maybe start their journey, it's just out of curiosity. And I wanted to start a company, and I didn't know what in yet. My background is in psychology. I was looking for a career change. And I was just sitting in an office of a friend who owns a pipeline company here in Calgary. And there was just a pie chart of consumables. And so I just asked him, what's one of the most products you go through? Because they were in the multiple millions of dollars. And so that curious question led to the answer of 6 out of the 10 top items his company went through were work gloves.
Really?
And yes. And so my brother, who's also an entrepreneur, he lives a few hours away. I called him up and I said, I think we should start a glove company. And
Yeah,
that's how it
totally
started.
amazing.
And that was 5 years ago. And it's been an amazing journey. And then, of course, we started with men's gloves, just because they're the more dominant in the workforce of the different sectors and industries. And then about 2 years ago, I realized I had like 2 options for women, but I really wanted to build on that. And that really just changed the trajectory of Spectra. So it's our own branded work gloves. So yes, I'm the product creator and owner of the company. What I love about gloves, there's so many applications. So our customers are like from manufacturing, and some are even tattoo artists, and the construction industry, oil and gas, agriculture. So lots of applications. I'm very excited. We have our complete women's line of gloves launching in January.
Right
And
on.
I'm very excited for that launch, and really wanting to support women, which ultimately led me to being one of the founders of Awesome as well.
Yeah, so let's talk about Awesome a little bit. So that's
Yes.
the AWSAM, which is
Yes.
again for everyone, that's the Alliance of Women's Safety Apparel Manufacturers.
Correct.
And I like being able to just say it's awesome.
It's awesome.
That's
Yes.
great.
And when we talk about it with people, that's exactly the reaction is like, oh, that's awesome.
So we've got Emily back. That's great news.
Sorry
So
about that.
no, it's all good. So Emily, we're just getting into a little definition of awesome and what it's all about. So I'll have Sally continue, and then you can pick up Emily from there.
Well, actually, Emily is probably the perfect person
Oh,
to
good.
introduce Awesome. Yeah, just because I think it was your husband who came up with the acronym. Is that right, Emily? And
My
I was
husband and I.
really just introduced to the concept. I'll
Yeah.
hand it to you in just a second, Emily. I'll just say that, being up here in Canada, out of the 11 founders that created Awesome, 3 of us are Canadian. And I met some of the other founders that are now with Awesome because I was doing an event up here in Calgary, and we had a workwear show. And so some of those products were in the workwear show, and that's how I got kind of connected to the folks down south, and then was asked, to help form and build on Awesome. But I'll hand it to Emily because there's a bit of a backstory and the name, which is really cool.
Yeah. Chad, should I finish introducing myself?
Yeah,
or
go
should-
for it. We didn't catch any of that introduction. So if you want to give us 30 seconds on Juno Jones Boots, yeah, just for
Sure.
context.
Yeah, of course. So my background is in the trucking industry, and being in the trucking industry as a woman and as an executive, I could never find footwear that fit my feet properly and was actually protecting me. So I launched Juno Jones with my team in 2020, and we make safety boots especially for women's feet that will protect them and give them the safety and the proper fit that they need to do their job.
Awesome. Very good.
So,
And as I mentioned, and turns out also you have another fan in Sally, but Stacy.
I'm saying how I rock the cherry bombs whenever I
yes.
go to conferences.
Yeah, I like it. I think a little style doesn't hurt, right? Darn it.
Right. Style's the bonus, right?
That's the bonus. Safety and fit, they're the most important, but looking good is also good.
Yeah, I mean, I think when something fits properly, it just looks better. So
Yes.
it's a side effect of actually having something that fits you that's protecting you.
That happens. So give us the backstory on Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how much Sally got into.
Nothing.
But
We had just
okay.
we had just pivoted from learning about her business.
Well, so I guess a few years ago, some of the members, founding members now, I know Kelly Franco is one of them, was at an ASSP conference, I believe it was, and decided to get together with some other women who were doing similar types of companies, and just get together in a hotel room and chat and have like a little girls' night. And so that ended up being a really crowded room.
Cool.
And people joined because they were not just other brand owners, but other people that were interested in women's PPE and supporting it. So the next year, Kelly got a few more brands together and decided to launch a more official event. So that event had over 100 people, probably well over 100, and was really popular. So we got together right after that. It was during the summer. And it was Dave Rosenbluth from Utility Pro, Melanie from Emperor, and myself. And we were speaking with Sally on the phone. And then, I don't know, we had a few other people, Kelly Franco, of course. And we got together at the ASSP, at one of the hotels at the ASSP conference. And we just started talking about how can we create an organization that's going to really serve everyone that is interested in this issue, but starting with really the brands. So starting with the brands who are creating the products. And so we decided to create this alliance. So it's the Alliance of Women's Safety Apparel Manufacturers, to bring some founding brands together and create this organization with our 3 pillars. And Sally can talk a little bit more about the 3 pillars, but and about our mission. But that's how the story started.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think there's obviously a need, and there's obviously a group of people who are moving this ball forward. And like so many things that when you're trying to get momentum initially, working together is super useful. So I applaud you guys for having that recognition. It can be hard to be like, all right, we may even have some overlap in some of our products, right? We may even compete, right? But like, wouldn't it make sense for us to work together for the overall good? So I think that's it takes maturity to do that, and it takes foresight. So I applaud that. Talk to us about the 3 pillars.
Yeah, I can talk about the 3 pillars. So I agree. I think by forming the alliance, and a lot of us are smaller manufacturers, and so it just creates more impact. And what I can say really about the founders is we're in it to help the women, the end users. And so one of the pillars is awareness. So it's awareness, access, and advocacy. But the awareness part is for people to know that there's brands out there. And, a lot of our brands and the development of these women's products came from either our own struggles with finding proper fitting workwear and PPE, or maybe we had a sister or a mother who was in industry and saw them using the duct tape and the safety pins to alter safety gear, so it wasn't getting caught in machinery or stopping them from working in the field. So the awareness part for us was letting the women know, creating a place where they could go if they're looking for certain items, that they're aware of the brands now that are out there that are filling that gap. But also for the companies, because a lot of the time when I do like lunch and learns, or I talk to companies, for people who are either project managers or whoever's in charge of ordering all the safety items, they're not sometimes aware of all the products that are out there now. And they'll go to their one contracted distributor of their products and ask for things. And if they don't carry them, then their default is like, well, then just get me the smallest men's coverall or the smallest gloves you have.
Right.
Or it's just that default. So it's creating awareness at every level of what's out there now for women, because I feel like the bigger brands do have some options, but I feel like us smaller manufacturers are really kind of filling those gaps and really talking closely to the women and the end user, and getting their feedback and making those adjustments. So the awareness part was a big part for Awesome.
Awesome. See how that just naturally flows. That's great. So founders are in it to help women, and I think there's this whole. So just this past week, I was interviewed about the topic of the mass deportation plan. I'm going to bring this home, I promise. But I was interviewed about the mass deportation plan by CNBC. They were asking me, what do I think would be the impact of that? And I said, honestly, it would be devastating. It would just be absolutely devastating if we experience a mass deportation. It would projects that were taking 18 months would take 6 years. Projects that cost 50 million would cost 180. It'd be 200 million. Like it would be dramatic. And the reason is we've become so heavily reliant on the immigrant workforce, and particularly the undocumented immigrant workforce, also known as, depending on your worldview, the illegal workforce, right? And one of the reasons that we're so dependent on that workforce is that we have such a hard time attracting American-born people into the trades. It really is a thing, and so there are lots and lots of untapped avenues, or partially tapped. I shouldn't say untapped, but partially tapped avenues for getting people, for getting more people to choose a career in the construction industry. And one of those avenues is absolutely getting women involved in the construction industry. So I look at this whole thing like, obviously that is maybe higher than a 30,000 foot view. Maybe it's like a 60,000 foot view of seeing all the connectivity of all of this stuff, that we wouldn't be nearly as dependent on a workforce coming over the border to work. That if we were really good at tapping into the people who are already here and getting them to come to the industry and work. Yet women in general haven't found the construction industry as appealing for what, or approachable, or what, for one reason or another. And if I could shift off of just the topic of apparel for a moment, and in general talk about, obviously not just construction. I think the same can be said about a lot of the spaces that you talked about, Sally and Emily, whether it's trucking or whatever else. Why are these industries maybe less approachable? And from purely from I'm imagining this alliance that you also will talk about what employers should be doing to make to make the industry more approachable and interesting to a potential female workforce. I don't care.
I have a lot to say on this, but I don't know if you want to go first.
Yeah, and side note, Sally, I know you're in Canada, and I don't know nearly what the migrant work situation is there, but I bet you it's not like Texas.
It boils down to labor shortage, and that's something that we both have.
We share that, eh?
We share that.
All right, cool. Yeah, jump on it, Sally. Go for it.
Yeah. So as a national average for Canada for women in the construction and trades, it's about 5% of the workforce. Where I am in my province, it is a little bit higher, probably around 8 to 9%, just because we are a pretty heavy industry where I am. But still, that's a pretty small amount of women that are entering these types of trades or this type of work. And I think it boils down to a few things. I think as companies, as leaders, as business owners, I don't think there's any denying, the research is in, that diversifying your workforce makes your workforce stronger. When you have people looking at things differently, problem solving, that will always strengthen your team. And so I think that the companies really need to open their eyes or look at more resumes maybe that are looking for transferable skills, or women that they can work with, and maybe offer apprenticeships go into the high schools and see the talent that's there that they can bring on. So I think, looking for them, you'll find them. And there's a lot of programs up here for getting women into the trades. So again, let's include government. There's Women Building Futures, there's Manpower, there's these organizations here in Canada that will train women for free. So they'll do almost like a construction boot camp. They'll connect them to employers and get them on site. And so I think there's a lot to do at your state or federal level there that can incentivize women to get into trades and have their school and some of their programming paid for. So that's a great incentive. Another thing is when I grew up, I never really thought about going instruction. My dad's a retired master electrician, so I was around the trades. And I was a summer student working at an oil and gas plant. Every summer, I drove the skid steer, but I didn't see any women on site. And so for me, it was, and a guidance counselor never told me about this. It was just nothing that even passed my mind. So again, I think we need to plant the seeds earlier. And again, here in Canada, we have a wonderful program called Honor the Work, where they put STEM kits in the grades 1 through 6. So it's tied to the curriculum, and the teachers have, books like storybooks on construction and women who build, and
That's
taking
awesome.
gender
You
out
gotta
of
have
these
that stuff.
roles. Yeah, and taking gender out of those roles. So these little girls are then building, with these STEM kits. So you need to go back and lay that foundation and get those books into the libraries in the schools. And then we have programs for the high school for dual credit for the where they can go to high school, but then they're on site and they could get paid and they're getting credits. And it's such an easy transition then into to trade school. And again, trying to attract women into those roles. So I think at every level, at every age group, everyone, we're talking about an alliance to make an impact. We all have to work together for the labor shortage. And I do believe women will be one of that group of people to help that situation.
Yeah, we've had several fantastic women join us over our couple of years as a podcast here on the Morning Huddle, and two of them that come immediately to mind, Andrea Jansen and Jennifer Todd, both had the exact same quote that I'll use here, which is, "If you can see it, you can be it." Type of thing, right? And there's so much that if you're a young woman or if you're a little girl coming up, there hasn't been a lot of evidence that this is a thing you can be, and that's a relatively easy thing to change if we're just intentional about it, right? Like, it's not, you just have to take some steps. But what more glaring sort of message could you send to women potentially entering the workforce than to say, oh yeah, by the way, the protective equipment that we all require, the only stuff that's out there is for men, so just heads up, just buy small stuff, have a good day. Right? Like and that's a a case in point to why you guys are doing what you're doing, I think. So Emily, what else would you add to that story about what do we need to do to attract women to the workforce?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, Chad. If you see it, you can be it. But once you get there, is the environment welcoming to you? Do you feel that the culture around you is supportive of you being there? Or when you get there, do you feel like everyone's looking at you like, why are you here? And if you're getting that vibe, maybe part of it is because, as you mentioned, something really as basic as the equipment not working for your body is going to tell you that you don't belong there. So it's a huge part of what we have to address in keeping and attracting women into the industries and in keeping them their retention. And so when we talk about protection, we're talking about mostly about physical protection of our bodies and our workers so that they can be safe. But we're also talking about the psychological protection. And what I mean by that is the idea that, yes, you do belong there. You are welcome in that industry and in that environment.
Yeah, I think sad to say, but I think when I think back, I've been working with companies in the construction industry for 16 years. So I think back to some of my earliest experiences with running into women in the field. I'll be totally honest. The thought that would go on in my mind is like, she must be really tough. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's that thought that like she must be really tough tells you
Right.
kind of all you need to know about exactly what you're talking about, that psychological safety.
Yeah.
Is I wasn't talking about physically tough. I was talking about mentally. I was talking about emotionally tough because
Right.
my gosh, how hard it must be out here. Kind of thing. Now, have we made progress in 15 years? I would like to think the answer to that's yes. I think that we have made progress, but also 5% is no landslide, right? As you
Right.
said, Sally, right? It's
Yeah.
there's still plenty of room for growth. So, at the end of the day, if you're in our audience and you're watching or listening to this episode and you're thinking, okay, so attracting more women, if I'm a manager or an owner of a construction company, what I can be doing is, um, making it a more welcoming environment. What are the things that I could be doing in my company to accomplish that? How do I create that? So I've got, obviously, offer women centric PPE. That makes tons of sense, and make sure that we're providing clear options that say, yes, we have this stuff for women, not just this stuff for men that women have to also wear. That seems like a relative no brainer, and I want to circle back to to why that's not just the easy button, like what's going on out there. But before we get off this subject, and before we get into that, I'd like to just understand if there's any recommendations, if you were giving advice to owners, executives, managers, for making their companies more welcoming and more likely to attract women in their construction business. What advice would you give?
Well, I would say it's kind of their job to set the tone. When you talk about culture in the workforce, if it's not being practiced or implemented from the top down, then there's going to be issues. So I think they need to set the example and set the tone, and be clear of what's acceptable, what's not. And I think, there's a misconception that it's special treatment, and it's not. It's just you're providing an open space or a place for a person to do their job. And we can talk about cost, because if it's one thing to attract women into the construction industry per se, but then, like Emily is saying, it's the retention to keep them there. And as a manager, as an owner, the value that you're going to give that woman, just to show that you care enough about her safety, that you're going to get her properly fitted. So that's step one, is just the care and value that, and the time you took to actually just make that person feel safe, which is where the men are at. So you're just bringing them to that level. It's not special treatment. You're making them equal, that when they step on site, that they have proper fitting.
I couldn't agree more. It's like this is not special treatment. This is just actually providing the exact same experience that you're providing to your male workforce.
Right. And if you don't, like, I would love there to be a little experiment where you just put men into really ill-fitting PPE, and then you go tell them to go work, and just to literally walk in the shoes and the coveralls of one day at work, of a woman at work, and having to hike up the crotch if they have to go up a ladder. Or just adjusting things, gloves flying off their hands, getting caught. Like, these are all of those little things that women, like you're talking about, psychologically, all of their energy is going to that. So just think about how more productive a person would be when they don't actually have to think about and make all those adjustments, all those micro adjustments throughout the day. So just as a value of proper fit, the owner, the company is going to get more value out of their worker as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
What else? What else would you add to that, Emily?
I mean, I think everything Sally said is spot on. It starts with culture, but part of that is listening to women workers, talking to them, taking the time to meet with them, observe them, and listen to what they're saying, and create the space for those affinity groups, or even just for conversation, and show that openness is there to be listening and seeing what can be done. And then just paying attention to things that maybe everyone else is taking for granted. So maybe, I hear a lot about the restrooms and how that is a problem on a lot of sites where there isn't a women's restroom, or if there is, maybe it's so far away that in order to get there, she has to take an extra 5 minutes to walk there, and then an extra 5 minutes to walk back. And that's really her break, and just to use the restroom, things like that. So just keeping alert, keeping aware, and trying to solve some of these really solvable issues on site.
Yeah, it's awareness. It's setting the tone. And I really do think in most cases at this point, it is just a lack of awareness. I don't think there are a lot of people who are intentionally trying to make it more uncomfortable for women. I do think that probably still does exist, but hopefully less and less. So it just takes a little extra thought. That's all it takes, and bringing it into your field of awareness, and then you'll never not notice it once it's into your field of awareness. I also really like your comment, Sally, about setting the tone. I think from a leadership standpoint, what you accept yourself and the kind of behavior that you have, the kind of conversations that you have, things like that, all that will tell the company what's okay and what's not okay. Right. And so, you really do have to make a conscious effort there. Okay. So let's talk about what's the status of your mission? How's it going with getting women's PPE brought into, let's just say, every contractor having that option for their people? Like, if that's the button we want to flip here, and just, hey, let's make sure everybody has women's PPE. Where do we stand there? Like, do you have any sense of what market penetration is on that?
Well, it starts with the distributors, I'd say, because the vast majority of companies are using some kind of a distributor to get their PPE out to the workers. So it starts with distributors carrying PPE that's built for women. And we do see more of it. We do see it increasing, but we also are still seeing a lot of the pink it and shrink it. And for those who don't know what that means, means it's the men's sizes that maybe have been colored with some pink, or you're just made smaller. So we're still seeing some of that, but we do see improvement, and a lot of the larger distributors are starting to welcome brands that are either owned by women or focused on women's body measurements.
Got it. And how's it going? Like, we're making progress.
Yeah.
And, would you say that, I don't know, would you say that half of all construction companies are now offering real, women's PPE, or do you have a feel for it?
So we did Amy Rusa, Di LeRae, myself, and in conjunction with the Safety Rack and Awesome, conducted basically a study, a data-driven study, a survey called My Body, My PPE, where we surveyed 500 women about this issue. And the report has not been issued yet, but yes, it is very clear that the vast majority of women are not finding access to the properly fitting PPE at their work site, unfortunately.
You say the vast majority are not?
Correct. Yeah.
So that means, does that mean that the vast majority of distributors are not getting this right?
So probably, I mean, it probably means that the vast majority of distributors are still not getting it right. And then different workplaces who maybe don't use distributors are still not getting it right. Maybe they're ordering in bulk, and those bulk sizes aren't fitting women. I do have some of the statistics here that I can share. I can just like a few of them, but
sneak peek.
To answer your question about this one, it's 70% of women reported not having access to properly fitting PPE in their workplace.
70%. And you know, if we're being real, that probably also the 30% that said they do probably also includes some women that are suffering through stuff that you know is just small enough for them, so they're okay with it, but it actually doesn't fully fit. They're just like maybe really nice, and they're trying to be generous.
It's a lot. Let's
It's a
put it
lot.
that way.
It's a lot. Wow. Yeah. That and okay. So how do we change that? Like how do you get the distributors' attention? What is there anything that is an incentive for distributors to like not care about this? Do they or to actively work against it? Like help me understand, because to me it just seems like a no brainer. Okay, I'll carry this stuff next.
Yeah, well, we're working. Juno Jones, my company Juno Jones, is working now with Lehigh Custom Fit, JJ Keller, and some other distributors, and you know, we've had great success with that. So it's just a matter, I think, of going through the processes. A lot of the distributors are now aware that we brands in the Awesome Group are out there, and they just have to go through the process. And these processes are not fast.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a long time, and maybe some of them still need to be convinced that this is necessary, that this is even an issue. So,
yeah, I think in full disclosure, I've actually tried to communicate with some relationships of mine, some contractor friends and clients that I've had over the years, and been like, you know, hey, do you guys offer this stuff? And after they say they don't know, because that's usually the answer, like they're not sure, and they look into it, the answer is no. And then I say, like, you know, hey, you guys should address that. And then their next answer is kind of like, if it's easy, I will.
right.
And you know, because it's not that anybody's opposed to it. It's just that, like, we have a whole ordering system. You know, we've got thousands of employees. We've got a whole ordering system that people go through. And if it's not in the ordering system, like, I can't come up with a custom thing. I just don't have time.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to muddy the waters, and I don't want to, you know, confuse people. So this is why it's so important that a distributor, because like at any point in time, any company could come to you and say, hey, Sally and Emily, we want to start carrying your products, right? They could just start selling your products directly from your site. But that's not how they're currently handling all of their uniform stuff, all of their PPE stuff, all of their, right? All that is currently happening through a different channel, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think what you're describing is true. I think it's a lot of extra work. Sometimes it's figuring things out. It's setting systems up that aren't already in place. And when things seem to be working and functioning, sometimes it's hard to shift that status quo, but it's important to do so. And I think as companies realize the impact it will have on women, but also on their bottom line, because when women workers are happy and you're attracting and retaining them, that does have an impact on the bottom line. They'll start paying more attention to it. It's a cultural shift.
If I were running a construction company today and was thinking, gosh, I really, you know, if there were 5 qualified people that could come and work in my company and all 5 of them happen to be women, I would very much want to hire those women. What's going to set me apart from the other competitor are things like this. You know what I mean? It's things like, am I walking my talk? Do I just say, hey, we definitely want to, you know, diversify and we want to, you know, attract women here, and then say, like, and we haven't put our money where our mouth is at all? Or am I able to point at things like, we've established, you know, we've changed distributors to work with a distributor that offers, you know, custom women's fitting PPE, or we've even though our distributor doesn't carry this stuff, we do. You know, we've you know, carved out these channels. I would say, for in the meantime, if you're watching this episode and you're thinking, gosh, I wish my distributor carried it. Oh, well, if it's important to you, and it should be, to attract as many qualified people, regardless of gender or any other distinguishing factor as possible, if it's important to you to do that, I would say it's probably worth the extra step of fixing that problem.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of asking your distributor, because as they get requests, they'll start to realize that this is a priority for them as well. And some of them already know that, and maybe they're waiting for a certain amount of requests to come in. So it can really make a huge difference if you just request from your distributor,
Right on.
women-owned or women-focused brands.
That's great advice. Good. That's an easy enough thing to do. And you know, and in the meantime, if you have, you know, women workers, what would you direct them to do if their distributor is not currently carrying products like yours?
Well, there are a lot of options. Sally, is there anything you want to
Well, I was
mention?
going to say, I think one of the reasons for forming Awesome was to have kind of all the brands in one spot.
Yeah.
So that the excuse of like, well, I don't know where to go or look.
Right.
Well, you just go to awesome.org and it's a one-stop shop or stop to see what brands are available. And like you said, there is some overlap, but there's a lot of different products. And so we have all of the 11 founders products, but we also have membership levels. So if there's other manufacturers, then they can join as well. And we're just going to keep building kind of that list of members who make proper fitting PPE. And there is a vetting process. We've all used kind of biometrics research and studies to create the products that we have. And so we're setting that high standard of you need to meet the requirements in order to be part of Awesome. So that if any distributors come to Awesome or any companies or anyone who's in procurement, then they know that, okay, these are vetted companies that are actually doing it right.
Yeah.
And so that's one of, our missions of Awesome is of being that one-stop shop where they can just go there and look at all of the brands available. And that will just keep growing. And I know there's such a need for it. We're talking about the ASSP. So Awesome had their launch in Denver just in August. And we had our launch party. How many did we think we were going to? I think 175 tickets. We thought it was free. You had to get a ticket. You had to sign up. But we had sponsors to cover the food and a welcome drink. But it was amazing the amount of distributors that did come. And so I think that's maybe where we can make a difference is for next ASSP, we'll invite more distributors to come, again, creating that awareness of what's out there and make it easier for them as well. And for our launch event, I don't know how, I think we stopped counting. We had 370, 380 people come.
Had a lot.
Yeah.
We were full.
We were full.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of energy. We had, like Sally said, distributors and companies there. We had employees, we had allies, we had all different kinds of people that were interested. And, a lot of companies did decide to sponsor, even though, we were a brand new organization. They jumped on and we had a lot of sponsorship, and that's going to be opening up again for next year's event. So it's limited number of sponsors that we'll accept, but definitely get in touch with us if you're interested in sponsoring our event for next year, which is at ASSP in Orlando.
Awesome. All right. That's great. Resources for people who want to dig into this more. I would strongly encourage our audience to look into this. I mean, again, guys, I think if you're paying attention to your workforce needs and you're thinking, gosh, we struggle so much to find great people. There are great people who happen to be women who are looking to join the workforce, and you want them to choose you. And I'm seeing a great opportunity in the immediate future before it's mass adoption to the extent that you're looking for. Honestly, I'm looking at it as a differentiating factor. If I'm a contractor, I would totally be putting on our website that we are aligned with AWSAM and we use all of these suppliers, and that we're these are things I would be promoting the hell out of for my own business if I ran a construction company looking to attract and really send a message to the market that we put our money where our mouth is.
And as Sally mentioned, we have membership levels. So we have the brands are the founding members. We also have affiliate members, which are other brands. We have partner members, which are the manufacturers of raw materials. But you can join as a corporate member. So if your company wants to be involved, your company can simply join that way as a corporate member, and then you will be a part of. You'll receive all the newsletters, and you'll be a part of our events, and you'll have and it's a great it's a great benefit for people to see that you are supporting this type of cause.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah.
it just purely from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
And we have
I'm
ally
all-
memberships too. So for any
Mhm.
women in industry, we want to be that resource page for them. And any allies who want to further the message can join as well.
Beautiful.
Ally memberships are only $10, and we do that so that we can, we can really open ourselves up to tradeswomen and students and anyone who's interested in being a part of it.
Awesome. Very, very nice. Well, thank you two for being a part of the huddle this morning, for spreading the word about your mission. And it does sound like we're making significant progress. I love the alliance. I think it's the awsam.org. Definitely dig into that. Congratulations on pulling that together. And again, really impressed at the level of foresight and collaboration that it takes for competitors to say, all right, folks, this is what it's going to take. I think it's necessary. And I also think it speaks to the quality of leadership that you guys are, demonstrating. So good on you.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for having us. And we really appreciate your allyship as well. We know that you do a lot. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That's kind. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So without Stacy, I don't even know what's happening next week. Wait, hold on. I do. I looked into it, but that is her gig. And I was very much worried that I would forget to cover this last piece. So next week we have Roger Krulak joining us, who is known as the quote unquote OG in modular. He's going to come on and talk about the full stack modular method. Modular construction is one of the more fascinating topics, and something that we've talked about making progress over the years, that we've made great strides on adopting here in the U.S. and different markets and different geographic sectors, different market sectors and geographies. And he's going to talk about how to adopt modular and maybe inspire some folks who are attending to take the leap and become more of a modular builder for the sake of efficiency, cost savings, and safety. So look forward to having Roger on. In the meantime, please do check us out at The Morning Huddle, constructionshow.com. You can follow our newsletter there. Make sure that you never miss what's going on, the upcoming stuff. And then obviously, if there's anybody, whether you or somebody you know is in the midst of creating positive change in the construction industry and wants to come on and share that story, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. We appreciate your